Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. We will be inshallah resuming our weekly translation, word-to-word translation class of the Holy Quran. In this class, we learn the correct pronunciation as well as word-to-word translation, and then we also go through running translation. And if there is anything needs to be explained, I also explained that in our discussion section. So we will be starting today from verse number 218 of Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2 of the Holy Quran, part 2. So the way it works is I recite the verse first, highlight one or two rules of correct recitation, and then we move on to word-to-word translation. So starting with verse number 218. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يسألونك عن الشهر الحرام قتال فيه يسألونك عن الشهر الحرام قتال فيه قل قتال فيه كبير وصد عن سبيل الله وكفر به والمسجد الحرام وإخراج أهله منه أكبر عند الله والفتنة أكبر من القتل ولا يزالون يقاتلونكم حتى يردوكم عن دينكم إن استطاعوا ومن يرتد منكم عن دينه فيمت وهو كافر فأولئك حبطت أعمالهم في الدنيا والآخرة وأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. Bit of a long verse. And just we want to quickly read go through one or two rules. Here I want to highlight the rule of ikhfa and izhar. Here wasaddun. It's tanween or noon sakin followed by a harf halkiya. Then you pronounce the tanween saddun. You actually pronounce the noon. But noon sakin followed by a non-harf halkiya, then you don't pronounce the noon. There's a slight nasal sound. Sabilillahi wa kufrum bihi. This, whenever a tanween or noon sakin appears, and then after that, following that, a ba appears, letter ba, then this is the rule of iqlab, and that sound of tanween or noon turns into meme sound. So in this case, it would be kufrum bihi. Okay, I think that's good enough. We will move on to the translation. Yas'alunaka. Yas'alunaka, they ask you or they will ask you. Yas'alunaka, they ask you or they will ask you. Anish shahri. An is about, ash-shahri, the month. Yas'alunaka, they ask you about the month. Al-haram, the sacred. They ask you about the sacred month. Qitalin, fighting. fighting. Qitalin, fighting. Fihe, in it. Yas'alunaka anish shahril harami qitalin fihe. They ask you about the sacred month and fighting in it. Kul, you say, qitalun, fighting, fihe, in it, kabirun, great, wasaddun, and hinder, an sabilillahi, from the way of Allah. An sabilillahi, from the way of Allah. Wa kufrum, and ungrateful, bihi, to him. And kufrum, wa kufrum bihi, and being ungrateful to him. Wal masjidil harami, and the sacred mosque. Wa, and al masjidi, masjid, al haram, the mosque, as the sacred. Masjidil haram, the sacred mosque. Wa ikhraju, and to turn out. Ahlihi, its inhabitant. Wa ikhraju ahlihi, and to turn out its inhabitant. Minhu, from it. Akbaru, greater. In the Allahi, from, in the sight of Allah. Wal fitnatu, and persecution. Akbaru, greater. Min al qatli, from killing. Wal fitnatu akbaru min al qatli, and persecution is greater from killing. Wala, and not yazaluna, they cease, or they will cease. Wala yazaluna, and they will not cease. Yuqatilunakum, they fight you. Yuqatilunakum, they fight you. Hatta, until yaruddu, they will turn. Yaruddu, they will turn. Kum, you, an, from, dinikum, your faith. Dinikum, your faith. Inistata'u, they had the capacity. And this is the word we also use in Urdu as well, istitat, which again comes from the Arabic language. Inistata'u, if they had the capacity. Wa man yartadid, wa, and man who, yartadid, he turns back. He turns back. Minkum, from among you. Andinihi, from his faith. Andinihi, from his faith. Fayamut, then he dies. Then he dies. Wahuwa kafirun, and he is a disbeliever while he dies. Faulaika, so these are they. So these are they, or those, ashabun nari, people of the fire, or inmates of the fire. Hum fiha, they will, whom they, fiha, in it, khalidun, they will live there forever. Now the running translation would be, they ask you about fighting in the sacred mosque. Say, fighting therein is a great transgression, but to hinder men from the way of Allah, and to be ungrateful to Him, and to hinder men from the sacred mosque, and to turn out its people therefrom, is a greater sin with Allah. And persecution is worse than killing, and they will not cease fighting you until they turn you back from your faith, if they can. And whoso from among you turns back from his faith and dies while he is a disbeliever, it is they whose works shall be vain in this world and the next world. These are the inmates of fire, and therein shall they abide. So in this verse, I'd like to highlight one important part of the verse where it is وَمَنْ يَرْتَدِدْ مِنْكُمْ عَنْ دِينِهِ فَيَمُتْ وَهُوَ كَافِرٌ فَأُولَٰئِكَ حَبِطَتْ أَعْمَالُهُمْ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. So in this verse, Allah the Almighty is speaking of those people who leave the faith, who become apostates. So there is no such punishment of apostasy in Islam. This is, from this verse we gather that there is no punishment of apostasy in this by human hand. It's up to Allah, and this is a belief which is commonly held in the non-Ahmadi Muslims. And this is one of those verses which we present in favor of our belief that it is counter to their understanding of the religion of Islam. And of course, we are taught this by the promised Messiah alayhi salam. Now we move on to verse number 219. إن الذين آمنوا والذين هاجروا وجاهدوا في سبيل الله أولئك يرجون رحمة الله والله غفور رحيم. إن الذين, surely those, آمنوا, they believed. Inna alladhina amanu, surely those who believed, walladhina hajaru, and those hajaru, they immigrated. Wa, and alladhina, those hajaru, they migrated. Wajahadu, and they strived. Fi sabilillahi, in the way of Allah. Inna alladhina amanu, walladhina hajaru, walladhina jahadu, fi sabilillah, surely those who believe, and those who immigrated, and those who strived in the cause of Allah, ulaika, these, yarjuna, they are hopeful. They are hopeful. Rahmatallahi, mercy of Allah. Rahmatallahi, mercy of Allah. Wallahu, and Allah, ghafurun, most forgiving, rahim, merciful. Allah is most forgiving and merciful. Moving on to verse number 220. يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ قُلْ فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ وَإِثْمُهَا أَكْبَرُ مِنْ نَفْعِهِمَا وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا يُنْفِقُونَ قُلِ الْعَفْوَ كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمُ الْآيَاتِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَفَكَّرُونَ. يَسْأَلُونَكَ, they ask you, or they will ask you. Yasalunaka, they ask you, or they will ask you. Anil khamri, concerning wine. Ani, concerning al khamri, wine. Wal maisiri, gambling. Yasalunaka anil khamri wal maisiri, they ask you about or concerning wine and gambling. Kul, say, meaning the Holy Prophet Muhammad should say, Fihima, in both, ithmun kabir, ithmun, sin, kabirun, great, wa manafiu, and advantages, linnasi, for people. And there are some also advantages. But wa and ithmuhuma, both, the sin of both of them, akbaru, greater, min naf'ihima, from the advantage of both of them. Naf'ihima, the advantage of both of them. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ, and they ask you, مَاذَا, what should, يُنْفِقُونَ, they should spend. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا يُنْفِقُونَ, and they ask you what they should spend. قُلِ الْعَفْوَ, you say whatever can be spared. Kulil afw, you should say whatever you can afford, whatever you can spared rather. Ka, like dhalika, like that. Yubayyinullahu lakum, he makes clear, meaning Allah makes clear. Yubayyinullahu, Allah makes it clear. Lakum, for you, ayati, his signs. The signs. Lakumul ayati, for you the signs. La'allakum, so that you tatafakkarun, that you may think, you may ponder. كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمُ الْآيَاتِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَفَكَّرُونَ. This is how Allah the Almighty explains, makes it clear the signs, so that you ponder or you think. Running translation would be, they ask you concerning wine and the game of hazard. Say, in both therein there is great sin and also some advantages for men, but their sin or harm is greater than their advantage. And they ask you what they should spend. Say, what you can spare. Thus Allah makes his commandment clear to you, that you may reflect. Here, I just want to highlight one aspect of this particular verse. In this verse, of course, Allah Ta'ala has made prohibition of the drinking of alcohol and also gambling. And sometime in our discussion, some members ask, what if we play lottery, and out of and whatever we win, we can then make charity out of that. So here Allah the Almighty as actually forbidding that the lottery or game of chance or should not be gambling, one should not participate in that. And in another verse, Allah the Almighty says on the same topic, "Lan tanalul birra hatta tunfiqu mimma tuhibbun," that you cannot really truly find true virtue until and unless you spend out of what Allah has, what you love. So again, our hard-earned money is what we love, and spending out of that would have a greater virtue and greater reward. And doing something which has been forbidden and then spending in the way of Allah Ta'ala would be not wise, and of course against the teachings of Islam. Moving on to next verse, verse number 221. في الدنيا والآخرة ويسألونك عن اليتامى قل إصلاح لهم خير وإن تخالطوهم فإخوانكم والله يعلم المفسد من المصلح ولو شاء الله لأعنتكم إن الله عزيز حكيم. في الدنيا والآخرة. في in الدنيا, this word. في الدنيا in this word, والآخرة and the hereafter. ويسألونك, and they ask you, anil yatama, concerning the orphans. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْيَتَامَى, and they ask you concerning the orphans. Kul, you should say, islahun, amendments, lahum, or reformation for them. Islahun lahum, reformation for them. Khair, better. وَإِن Kul islahun lahum khair, that the reformation, you should say the reformation is better. وَإِن تُخَالِطُوهُمْ, and in if tukhalitu, you intermix whom they. وَإِن تُخَالِطُوهُم, and you intermix them, فَإِخْوَانَكُمْ, so your brothers, فَإِخْوَانَكُمْ, so your brothers, وَاللَّهُ, and Allah, يَعْلَمُ, he knows, al-mufsidu, mischief maker, min al-muslih, from reformer, min al-muslih, from reformer. So Allah knows who is a mischief maker and who is a reformer. Walau sha'allahu, and if Allah willed, va, and lo, if sha'a, he willed, Allah, walau sha'allah, and if Allah willed, la'anatakum, la means surely, a'natakum, he put to hardship you, la'anatakum, surely he would put you in hardship. Inna Allah, surely Allah, Azizun Hakim, Azizun mighty, Hakimun wise. Inna Allah Azizun Hakim, surely Allah is mighty and wise. Running translation. Upon this world and the next. And they ask you concerning the orphans, say, promotion of their welfare is an act of great goodness. And if you intermix with them, they are your brethren. And Allah knows the mischief maker from the reformer. And if Allah had so willed, he would have put you to hardship. Surely Allah is mighty, wise. Verse number 222. وَلَا تَنكِحُوا الْمُشْرِكَاتِ حَتَّى يُؤْمِنْ وَلَأَمَةٌ مُؤْمِنَةٌ خَيْرٌ مِّن مُشْرِكَةٍ وَلَوْ أَعْجَبَتْكُمْ وَلَا تُنكِحُوا الْمُشْرِكِينَ حَتَّى يُؤْمِنُوا وَلَعَبْدٌ مُؤْمِنٌ خَيْرٌ مِّن مُشْرِكٍ وَلَوْ أَعْجَبَكُمْ أُولَٰئِكَ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى النَّارِ وَاللَّهُ يَدْعُو إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ وَالْمَغْفِرَةِ بِإِذْنِهِ وَيُبَيِّنُ آيَاتِهِ لِلنَّاسِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَذَكَّرُونَ. Excuse me. Wala, and not, tankihu, you marry. Wala tankihu, and you should not marry al-mushrikat, idolatrous women. Idolatrous women. Wala tankihul mushrikati, you should not marry idolatrous women hatta, until yu'min or yu'minna, that they believed. Hatta yu'minna, until they have believed. Wala, and not amatun, bondwoman. Amatun, bondwomen. Wala, and not the bondwomen, mu'minatun, believing woman, khairun, better, mim mushrika, from the idolatrous woman. Walau ajabatkum, walau, and if or even, ajabatkum, she pleased you. Ajabatkum, she pleased you. This is a new word, so please keep in mind. Ajabatkum, she pleased you. Wala tunkihu, and you should not give in marriage al mushrikina, idolaters, hatta, until yu'minu, they believe. You should not marry the idolaters until they believe. Wala abadun, I think there may have been a may have been mistake here. Let me just consult the, yeah. So this is not la here. This is just la, which means surely. And the verse also says it. So this is a mistake here. Wala amatun. La, it's not la. La means surely. So please never mind this. Wala abadun, and va and la, surely, abadun, slave, mu'minun, believer. Wala abadun mu'minun, and surely the slave believer, khairum min, is better than mushrikin, idolater. Walau ajabakum, even if he pleased you, ajabakum, he pleased you. Ulaika, those, yad'una, they call, ilan nari, towards the fire. Ulaika yad'una ilan nari, these are those who actually call towards the fire. Wallahu, and Allah, yad'u, he calls you, ilal jannah, towards paradise. Wallahu yad'u ilal jannah, and Allah calls you towards heaven. Wal maghfirati, and forgiveness. Bi'idhnillahi, with the command of Allah, or with his, bi'idhnihi, with his command. Bi'idhnihi, with his command. Wa yubayyinu, and he makes clear, ayatihi, his signs, linnasi, for people, la'allahum, so that they, yatadhakkarun, they remember. So, wallahu yad'u, and Allah calls you, ilal jannah, towards jannah, wal maghfiratu, and forgiveness, bi'izni, with his command, wa yubayyinu ayatihi, and he makes clear his signs, linnasi, for the people, la'allahum, so that they, yatadhakkarun, they remember. Running translation: and marry not idolatrous women until they believe, and even a believing bondwoman is better than an idolatress, although she may highly please you. And give not believing women in marriage to idolaters until they believe. Even a believing slave is better than an idolater, although he may highly please you. These call to the fire, but Allah calls to heaven and to forgiveness by his command, and he makes his sign clear to the people that they may remember. Jazakumullahu ta'ala for tuning in. Inshallah, we'll resume next week from Ruku number 12, verse number 223. Jazakumullahu ta'ala jaza. Until next week, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin wa barik wa sallim, innaka hamidun majid.